Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Aromatic Ice 968, and there is a trigger warning on the story of disordered eating, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. Now we're getting started. It's titled, Am I the Arsehole Here for not serving as much food as I know my dinner guests will want to eat? First, I want to be clear that I do not believe in body shaming or food policing. Having lost 100 pounds myself and working on another 50, I have no place to judge anyone for what they eat. I pride myself on being a generous host who makes my guests comfortable and feeds them well. Nobody leaves my house hungry has always been my rule. The problem? I have a friend who meets monthly at either my or Joan's home for dinner. Nobody else has enough space to host. Recently, Polly announced she has a girlfriend, which made us all happy. Polly has been lonely for a long time, and I was the first to host Melissa. Melissa is 500 to 600 pounds. I've never met anyone that big, but I hid my surprise and was warm and welcoming. No problem, I have sturdy furniture. For dinner, I served bowls of salad, then soup, and Melissa insisted on keeping her empty bowls at the table. I didn't think much of it. I'm not Emily Post. If you're as clueless as me, Emily Post was someone who's famous, was a lady who was famous for writing about etiquette. Opie continues. Then I brought out the main course. 2 9 by 13 pans of 14-layer lasagna, cut into 8 pieces each. There were 10 of us all together. I told people to dig in as I got the bread out of the oven. When I got back to the dining room, everyone looked so shocked, I thought my cat had farted. His mouse farts could suffocate an elephant. Then I saw that Melissa had 4 pieces of lasagna heaped on her plate, 2 in her salad bowl and 2 in a soup bowl. Polly was glaring like, "Don't you dare say a word." Melissa seemed utterly oblivious. I didn't know what to do. I just sat down. Joan and I shared 1 piece of lasagna, and everyone else got a full piece. I cut the cake into equal portions for dessert, but had to make an extra batch of sauce and get an extra tub of ice cream out. Melissa ate at least a liter. The next month, on Joan's turn, she served every course pre-plated, and when Melissa asked for extra, Joan apologized and said there was none. Truth? Joan is very organized and precise. Melissa and Polly left right after dinner, and Polly texted Joan, berating her for controlling Melissa's eating. Polly also texted me saying she trusted I'd be sensitive to Melissa's needs on my next turn. That turn is almost here. My plan was roast dinner, pork and beef. I can easily make lots of cheap veg in dessert, but meat is pricey right now, and I'd have to serve twice the norm to satisfy Melissa. I know I cannot just trust she'll take a tenth of what's there, considering she grabbed a whole lasagna last time. So do I suck it up and just buy much larger roasts? Do I make a big few batches of cheap soup and biscuits and serve that rather than strain my budget? I don't want to upset Melissa or be a stingy host, but I've never dealt with someone like this before. I was obese, but I would have eaten maybe 2 pieces of lasagna, not 8. So I just serve a reasonable sized meal and tell Polly and Melissa, sorry, that's all I have. Am I the arsehole here if I serve less food that I know my guests will want? Edited to add, everyone in the group who doesn't cook, so 7 people before Melissa joined, chips in $25 per meal to whoever hosts. That until inflation got so bad, covered enough of the food cost to make it feasible. Joan and I have both been simplifying our menus a bit to deal with rising costs, but the idea is to give ourselves and our friends a night off from the humdrum world and pretend we live glamorous, elegant lives. We use fine china and dress nicely and play classical music. Right before Melissa, I was going to ask if we could increase the chip into $30 a plate. I have the most resources out of anyone in the group, and I can afford to go out of pocket a bit more than Joan. None of the rest have money, space, or culinary skills to put this together. Joan and I can cook like Julia Child. We are a ragtag lot with a variety of neurodivergences and mental health issues. These meals give us something special to look forward to. Now, this isn't just about food quantities, it's about the absolute lack of respect and boundaries and just general awareness about social norms and consideration for others. And that she knowingly took food which was meant for other guests, which other guests also paid for. And Polly is just as bad and expecting OP to accommodate this behavior without question, attacking the friend, Joan, for serving pre-plated portions. And I can understand about, OP not wanting to come across a certain way as like body shaming or anything like that, but it's simply not about that. It's finding a respectful balance where one guest's needs isn't completely overriding everybody else's. And I think Joan's solution was probably the best way to deal with it. It wasn't controlling like she said, it's ensuring everybody is getting fed fairly and one person isn't taking all the food. But Mountain Angel says, let Polly know she needs to start chipping in to feed her girlfriend, or they don't get invited. The alternative is to have it at her place, even though there isn't enough room. Mary says, your friend is a problem. Anyone who lacks the self-awareness to see that gorging themselves at the expense of the host is not someone you need in your home. You need to talk to your friend about how selfish her girlfriend is. If she's unwilling to talk to her partner about consideration in other people's homes, then she doesn't need to come to these parties. This isn't a fat-shaming issue. It's an issue of a very large woman having no self-control and no consideration for other people. She has zero manners. If her appetite is that great, she should eat before she comes. Salt Finding says no one is entitled to $100 of a meal that is $25 per head. That's ridiculous. Grow a backbone and tell her she either pays it or leaves the glutton at home. Melissa knew there would not be enough lasagna for everyone after what she took. Outrageous behavior. Sword Rat says not the arsehole. If I'm hosting a dinner, yes. I'll be as accommodating as possible. Dietary restrictions, allergies, whatever. I will not, however, accommodate someone who thinks taking an entire dish for themselves. My passive-aggressive response would be, everyone gets a piece before taking seconds, or staring right in her eyes. My more direct arsehole response would be, the fuck you doing? You can't just take the entire serving dish worth of food before anyone else gets a fucking bite. Edit. I don't want to seem like I'm fat shaming or anything like that, but for a guest to take half the food, at the least that's just bad manners, especially when everyone chipped in for a meal. Everyone involved needs to have a serious conversation about how to go forward. Opie responded saying, you're right, this is beyond fat shaming. This is someone taking way more than they paid for and depriving others of what they paid for. It's also making others incredibly uncomfortable. It didn't actually bother me to see Melissa eat all that. It was kind of amazing in a weird, voyeuristic way. But the rest of the group is saying that it was super uncomfortable for them. And one more comment from Sparks Girl who says, I'm impressed with your restraint because I would have lost my ever-loving shit on someone taking more than half. Did I read that right? Of the main course for themselves. Emily Post would have fainted thrice during the tirade I would have put forth, good host or no. I love it when someone says thrice. And then to be berated for controlling someone's eating by stating that the food is for everyone would have ended their invites forthwith. Not the arsehole. So Opie's got a couple of updates. The first one said, excrement is hitting the fan right now. I thought I was safe because I knew Polly didn't use Reddit, but apparently Melissa told an online friend about 14-layer lasagna, and that friend saw the post and showed it to her. Stupid me, wanting to show off my culinary prowess. Apparently I'm not the only one this has happened to. I was silly to think, oh, it couldn't happen to me. So Melissa and Polly are at my house now, enraged, and my dad, the semi-retired crisis counselor, is talking to them whilst I wait downstairs in my suite and cry. Yes, I'm hiding behind my parents, but they are calmer and more objective, and I'm too anxious to have rational conversations with Polly and Melissa. Update. It sounds like they've split them off. Dad is in one room talking to Melissa, Mum is in another talking to Polly. I cannot get close enough to eavesdrop, and my damn cat won't tell me what he's hearing. Might as well take this time to answer some common questions. 1. The chip-in has been $25 per person who doesn't cook. Joan and I never pay, regardless of who hosts. So we've been working off a budget of $175 because the group is 9 people and 7 pay. Last night and this morning we decided to increase the chip-in to $35. As of this moment, Melissa is only invited if she sticks to appropriate portions because no matter how much she pays, the rest of the group does not want to watch her eat like that. Is that mean? I don't know, but given the yelling from upstairs, I don't know if she or Polly will ever return. 2. For those who think I cannot have a sturdy enough furniture, my dad is a very large man. My now deceased Opa and my uncle custom built most of the furniture in the house. At least the stuff he would sit on. Dad has lost a lot, but everyone in the family has a good chair or two for him to sit on in their homes. 3. Polly has helped me through a lot and has had a very difficult life, so I'm loath to upset her. I understand now that I need to grow a spine and that I don't need to be a doormat. 4. I built this group and started the parties in part because restaurants aren't an option for all involved. We have a plethora of mental, physical, and neurospicy health issues going on. One of us has dwarfism and doesn't like being stared at. The parties are our escape from our difficult lives. We dress up in vintage glam costumes we found at thrift stores or made ourselves and pretend that we're in a golden age Hollywood or something. It's a big deal, and both Joan and I truly love to cook and host. 5. I like cooking fancy food because I have to cook healthfully for the rest of the time for my own weight loss and my diabetic parents. I do not want my parties to turn into salad and lentil fest. I eat that the rest of the time. For whoever suggested a crawdad boil, we are landlocked in Canada. Beef is cheaper than crawdads around here. I haven't cooked much southern soul food, but it's a possibility if we don't include seafood because it costs the earth. 7. Polly sees Melissa's issues as a disability we should accommodate. She compared it to Dad building a wheelchair ramp on the front porch for my granny and auntie. But I now understand that letting Melissa gorge is not a kindness, it's enabling very dangerous behavior. She could keel over in my dining room, and we do not want to deal with all the paperwork that would create. 8. I honestly did think that everyone who was morbidly obese and addicted to food got that way from trauma because my sister and I did. 9. I wasn't actually deprived of lasagna. Joan and I often share a piece. I've had a bariatric surgery and cannot eat much, and Joan prefers salad and bread and only a small portion of something as rich as lasagna. 10. I'll post the recipe once I remember all of it. It's a combo of a few different ones and some right from my head. I'm extremely stressed right now, so remembering ingredients isn't working. 11. I was wrong on Melissa's weight. She's 490 pounds. My bad. I'm not good at estimating those things. 12. I'd be much calmer right now and not be having chest pain if this was rage bait. I wish it was rage bait. Sorry to disappoint. 13. Please don't call Melissa derogatory names. This is not about hating on fat people. I was looking for advice on how to approach her obesity and food addiction behavior with fairness and compassion. Also, thanks for all the kind and helpful things people have said. Some of the douchey ones gave me a laugh, like the idiot who thought 2 enormous lasagnas doesn't feed 10 people. I'll write another post when things are resolved. So, sometime later, OP does come in with that update and says, first off, thanks to everyone who responded kindly. I'm still working through all the private messages, and I'll get there. Also, I'm still working on remembering the whole lasagna recipe. I'll post it when I do. First, an apology. I knew Polly didn't use Reddit, but I was foolish and didn't think that Melissa might. I was out of line with some of what I said by calling it a live mukbang show, and for that, I apologize. This post was not supposed to be about fat shaming, and I did, in my comments, fat shame. That is on me, and I apologize. I do not hate Melissa for being obese. My problem has solely been about the etiquette and fairness of the food consumption and the stress it puts on me to see someone binge eat so severely when I battled that disorder. Update. That day they came to my house. I did eventually speak to Melissa and Polly after they calmed down. Melissa has always dreamed of having friends who would accept her as she is and be in a group where she can eat the way she does without judgment. Polly believed that I would provide that. I told them that I cannot, because I almost ate myself to death, and helping someone else do it is too much. Also, most of my other guests were uncomfortable. I said I would provide double portions to Melissa, which is a lot of food, but no more. I did not mention the cost because I didn't want them to offer to pay as a way around it. They said they'd think about it, but Polly messaged me a few days later and said that she could not forgive me humiliating her partner online unless I showed true remorse by giving Melissa what she needs, an unlimited buffet at my home. So our friendship is over. Another member of the group has sided with Polly, upset at the fact that I discussed this online. So that is where we're at. My group has shrunk. We'll grow again. There are a few people we are going to discuss who might make good additions. but we skipped this month's party because of the stress and drama. As to whether I should have discussed it online at all, I've decided that I'm not sorry for that. I changed enough details that someone outside the circle would not recognize it. Some genders, names, ages, medical conditions, who has what career, which relatives I live with, who has what career, have been altered to preserve anonymity. I needed advice and thought anonymously online would be better than asking a bunch of people I knew, because I did not want to tell people who knew Melissa what happened. And OP left a lot of comments below that as well. I'm just going to try and pick out a couple of the main ones. OP was replying to someone and said, "I said some pretty foul things in my comments on my first post. Live mukbang show. I do understand why Polly wanted to end the friendship. That was very wrong of me, especially because I did not want to present this as hateful towards fat people. I wanted to present it with compassion and help people understand how horrific food addiction is, so that I have more empathy for those plagued with it. Polly's demand wasn't so much about creating the unlimited buffet as it was prioritizing Melissa's wishes to eat all she wanted, in spite of the discomfort of other guests, and allowing my own food addiction issues to be triggered. I did explain to Polly about how much it triggered me, and I think the demand was deliberate in that I should put myself in such discomfort to atone. I was wrong for the rude things I said, but I won't put myself in that danger to atone. I've been stress eating since it happened, worse since things blew up, and I need to get it under control." OP also says, "I think Polly has taken advantage of the fact that I don't want to upset someone for being obese, and she told Melissa that I wouldn't object to her eating all she wanted. I think she sees me as a safe space for Melissa to live out her compulsions unopposed. Polly might have more of a manipulative side than I thought." And the final comment from OP said, "I always thought I did provide all you can eat. I want my guests to be stuffed and satisfied. It's part of my cultural background to feed people as a gesture of love. That's why I made 2 lasagnas when I could have gotten by with 1, cutting pieces smaller. But I've never met someone whose food addiction was that extensive. I want to be clear that I see her as sick, not an evil, greedy person." But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's have another story. This one was suggested over on our own subreddit, r/Mark Narrations. It was cross-posted, so it originally came from the r/Entitled People subreddit from Past Division. It says, "Entitled customer is mad, we won't refund him for an item he bought 12 years ago." So, I work at a call center for a certain members-only bulk store chain, specifically in the online branch. One of the perks we offer our customers is an almost comically lenient return policy. We started limiting certain electronics to 90 days from the date of delivery back in 2016. This will be important later, and our returns team needs to look over and approve any returns for orders over 2 years old, but by large, we'll accept anything. I like this policy. It's a lot easier for me to just process a return than it is to argue with a customer for 20 minutes about how, "No sir, it's not our fault that you didn't think to open the box until well after 90 days and now the computer doesn't work. I can get you over to warranty, but beyond that my hands are tied." Customers like this policy because it means they basically can return stuff whenever they want within reason. Returns usually approve the 2+ year request unless it's something egregiously dumb. The key word there is within reason. It's early into my shift. I don't think I'd even had my first break at this point. Phones are dead at this time of day, as is typical once the holiday rush order and the post-holiday return rush subsides. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out what the fuck 71 down on my crossword puzzle is when a call comes through. I snap to attention, give my spiel, and ask what the guy needs. Nobody came to pick up the stove I'm returning. They delivered the new one and took the gas range, but I still have an electric one to return. "Well, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. I'd be happy to see what's going on." I check the logistics scheduler. Only return this guy has is for the one that he got picked up. I asked if he has the order number for the item being returned. He does not. I pull up his order history and ask him when he ordered the item. For context, the order history we see on our end only goes back to about 2017. He says, I think, August of 2013? So, it's going to be one of those calls, huh? I'm looking forward to having to fart around in the DOS system to find this guy's order number. But at this point, I'm figuring he just had an old phone number on the order, and that's why his pickup isn't in our scheduler with the rest of his orders. After about 20 minutes of checking every single membership number on file in our DOS system, the guy claimed he never changed his membership number at any point. He was wrong, and multiple assertions of the last people just pulled it right up. Bullshit. Not only do you not have the order number, but it's tied to your wife's membership number for over 20 years ago and can't even be pulled up with your info at all. Believe me, I fucking tried. I find the order. The return is cancelled because our returns team didn't think refunding a 12-year-old stove because it stopped working, after 12 years of no issues with it judging by our records, is in the spirit of our return policy, since it's highly unlikely the issue is caused by a manufacturing defect at this point. I could go on about planned obsolescence and how things used to be built to last, but unfortunately, 12 years is honestly a pretty hefty shelf life for a home appliance these days, and it's definitely well out of a warranty we have. I explain this to the customer as gingerly as I can, and he demands to know why we didn't tell him this years ago. I'm grandfathered into your 90-day policy, aren't I? When did that change? Why didn't you tell me years ago that you weren't going to accept my return anymore? I need to escalate this right now. I try to explain to him that these sort of situations are handled on a case-by-case basis, and it's less that there's a hard limit now, and more that a 12-year-old appliance starting to have issues can't really be considered a manufacturer defect that we're obligated to refund you for. He's not having it and asks for a supervisor. You got it, sir. And I kick him over to my supervisor, who is like, a stove not working after 12 years isn't really something we can blame on the manufacturer. It's not like we sold him a lemon. And move on. But not before he gives me this gem. If I had known you wouldn't have accepted my return now, I would have returned this years ago. So basically, just admitted he wanted us to pay him to haul away his junk, rather than actually thinking his stove reaching the end of its lifespan was a manufacturer defect. Dear God, I'm so glad this job pays well. I absolutely love stories like that. There were so many people below that one sharing their own stories of working in customer service. I bow my head to you because you're absolutely amazing people dealing with some of the shit that you have to deal with. Hoo-wee. You know, the story's not massively dramatic. It's just a phone call about a returned item. But you think, that's just one conversation during the day. Think about the millions and billions of conversations all over the world and what drama is going on there right now. I do find that mind-blowing. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you work in retail? Had your own experience? Don't forget to share it over on r/MarkNarrations. As always, would love to hear it. And just a huge thank you once again for being here. Much love to you, and I'll see you in the next one.